Good morning. I'm Rev Wendy Silvers, and this is Awaken, the sanctuary for your soul. So how this works is I'm sharing a little bit of the message with you. And then for those that are in the private group, we go off Zoom and there's meditation and some Q&A. And you are absolutely invited to join us in that very sacred space. And what I'm giving you this morning is a message, and you get to sit with this message. You get to journal about this message. You get to take what you like and let go of the rest. You don't have to agree. Okay, this is just an inspired message for each and every person that is within earshot of this message. So the message this morning is becoming your own loving parent. So many people on a spiritual path, not myself, but there was a time that I was like that. I just didn't want to look back. I spent a lot of time looking back. I am a trained, certified, nonviolent, trauma-informed parenting educator, and I've been in that space for over 24 years. And so I understand how important emotional intelligence is, emotional sobriety is. And I use the word sobriety because if you've come from a home where there's been any form of addiction or dysfunction, there are coping skills that you adapted to get through your childhood that you took into your adulthood that at some point don't serve you. What does that look like? That can look like not having healthy boundaries. That can look like being over responsible. That can look like having to do things on your own. That can look like I'm not going to let anybody know I need them, or I need everybody. It can look like having just bristling anger and you walk into a room and people can feel it. It can be not being able to have a conversation, having to be really in control of everything and everyone. It can be people pleasing to the point where you're not really trustworthy because you go along with whoever is in favor. Whoops, something just fell. You could be extremely harsh and critical upon yourself, not allowing yourself the same leeway you allow other people. Do you recognize any of those? Anything there jump out for you? Some of it, all of it, maybe none of it. The whole invitation that I give you is to just pause and reflect, because I know that there's a lot of people I work with that are very interested in having success, outward success. And what I've learned from my own path of studying and being steeped in prosperity consciousness and expansion is that it's all an inner job. The outside will reflect the inside. I spoke yesterday about a number of things. I referenced Martin Luther King Jr.'s 3 descriptions of love, which were eros, philia, and agape. And I know I heard him talk about utilitarian. So these adaptive behaviors, which become maladaptive behaviors, emerged in your childhood. But it's not too late. No matter what age or stage you are in your life, it's not too late to address them, to heal them, to transform them. You are not a prisoner of your past. So how do you do that? Well, you've got to unpack it first. You, me, we get to be willing to look at some of, again, I'm going to use this word, patterns that are showing up in relationship. Are you somebody who's afraid to ask for what you want? I've totally been there. Are you somebody who's like a bull in a china shop and doesn't care who's there, just mow them down? I haven't totally been there, but I know that when I was in the entertainment industry, and I worked as a press agent, and I was representing, TV and film actors and films. There was an energy that I carried that was kind of I'm not taking any prisoners. But it was also an energy where I really cared about my clients. So you get to just be with yourself, to check in. Where am I with kindness and compassion toward myself and then others? Emotional intelligence is having an emotional literacy, an emotional library, access, not theory, just like spiritual practice. You can't fake it. You can't have, you can't latch yourself upon somebody else's consciousness and claim it for your own, because it shows. It eventually, the veneer cracks and people see beyond the veneer. Now, does it matter? Some people don't really care. They're like, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be just this way, and you can like me or love me, and that's fine for them. But 9 times out of 10, if you're with me in the Awaken, I call it the mystic mastermind, the sanctuary for your soul. If you're here, you're somebody who is very dedicated and devoted to peace, peace building, peacekeeping. And in order to be that emissary of peace, an emissary of truth, an emissary of love, it requires refinement, looking to see, where am I out of alignment with peace, with truth, with kindness, with compassion? And then being humble, humility, teachable. Am I willing to transform this? Am I willing to have a different experience? Am I willing? Am I willing to be made whole? And that's it. I mean, it's a lot deeper than that, but you get to suss out, I do this a lot because I think about the tapestry and all of the threads that make up an individual, the tapestry of our life. So we have our early childhood, and then we have our young adulthood, and then we have our adulthood, and then we have different stages in our adulthood. And within each of those stages, we get to look at, again, how are we being? If you're carrying an enormous amount of grief, if you're carrying a lot of grief that manifests as anger or depression, depression is the suppression and depression of feelings. And where does that come from? It comes from your childhood. So now, as somebody who is so devoted and dedicated to the well-being of children and people activating their highest potential, it is crucial and essential that you simply let go of that which is in the way, so that you can be the best parent, the best partner, the best citizen. We talk a lot about the highest and greatest expression of the divine through and as our lives, right? There are people that we see that are answering the call on their soul in a huge, huge way. And their benefits to the world. People may not agree with them. People may not like what they think they know about them, but they do it anyway. So there's a level of emotional intelligence that's involved in that, knowing oneself, knowing how to be in relationship. Sometimes there are people that are, what's that word? Adversarial. Sometimes people are just contrary. They just want to be that way. And they get to be that way if they don't care to have an inner transformation. Because I guarantee you, if you think that that is your true identity, it isn't. But there can be that misperception. There can be that holding on to a particular identity because it makes one feel powerful and strong. Sometimes people have the misperception that being vulnerable makes a person weak, but it doesn't. It's the strength. It activates a strength that is beyond description. So, my invitation, the message to you this morning is, are you emotionally literate? Do you feel like you have emotional sobriety? Are you interested in becoming emotionally intelligent, in becoming your own loving parent? There's a lot of conversation about connecting with the inner child, but are you established in your own inner loving parent? I'm going to leave you with that. If you would like to join our Awaken Soul Sanctuary, you are so welcome. If you have any questions for me, the contact info will be in the liner notes, and I'm going to go and be with the people in the program. I wish you a beautiful and blessed